Oh, we got a lot of bit of flavor, Yeah, this is how messed up it all is, ladies and gentlemen. The marketplace itself is just, it's paused. All right, we saw a little bit of movement on Friday, and then, of course, they gave it all back in the Asian session last night. But there's so much chaos happening. Is now the time to start buying? Well, the question is can you absorb what's about to unfold? We've got the story of tariffs with Trump. Now everyone's all queuing up at the court saying, right, we want to make our claim. But we've had word that they're going to stop receiving payments, right? So it's getting a little bit fishy, to say the least. More importantly, we're going to be diving into what's going on right now. We've had just one of the major speakers from the FOMC, Waller, turning around saying that we don't know where we are with this story right now with tariffs. And of course, it would suggest that we may need to keep rates higher for longer. That's the theme, ladies and gentlemen. You've got this Iran and the US story that is unfolding, but they're going to be holding talks in Geneva on the 25th of February. Why is the 25th of February so important? Well, it's going to put to bed anything about AI. Nvidia earnings call. It's a big week, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to break it all down for you just to give you everything that you need to know. And I'm going to let you go about your day. Don't like to make these lives too long, man. They're just too much for you all. Like, you just sat there just listening to me chew your ears off. Anyway, let's get with the program, ladies and gentlemen. Let's break it all down. So, I hope you're all doing well. Mad love and respect. Yes, we have the Mafia shirt on today. Anyway, so, stocks drop on trade jitters. I mean, what is that? Ladies and gentlemen, I've just had a ladybird land on my neck. How mad is that? Might be a good omen. I mean, yeah, it's a black ladybird, but never mind. What are the odds of that? Anyways, so, dollar. What's the story with it? Well, let's just quickly break it down so you understand exactly what the story is. Right now, you only need to be focused on the dollar. The reason why is because the dollar is one of the oldest safe havens. That's where investors go. Not to forget our dearly beloved gold. What's gold doing? I mean, they hedge, they release. That's all that it is. When you are dealing with geopolitical events and you've got changes in interest rates, the uncertainty of it all, Waller today saying January jobs data an upside surprise. If it continues, a policy pause may be appropriate. Listen, this guy, okay, is one of the most dovish players. This is the trade regime document that Platinum members get every single morning. And alongside that, you get this document here. And this shows us where all the Fed speakers are. And as you can see right now, if I just zoom in and show you, you can see Waller is at the top end of being dovish. And they are a voter, okay? And as a voter, that means what? They have influence. But at the top end of being dovish most of the time, turning around saying that a pause may be likely, that's a little bit of a problem, ladies and gentlemen. But what does it do for gold? Isn't the fact that when gold's price goes down, it's usually because interest rates are higher? Equally, when interest rates drop, gold's price goes up. Well, you only just need to understand this chart right here in front of you. This is the interest rates for the dollar, the real interest rates. When interest rates were going up, gold's price was a little bit suppressed. But then there was speculation that they were going to start cutting the rates. And then gold's price started to make a move to the upside. Now we're stuck in this range over here with gold. If you just have a look closely, you can see that interest rates up here, logic says they're going to come down. Gold's price is going to go up. So does that mean gold does still have more room to go higher? Yes, it does. Projections coming from Goldman Sachs are suggesting that maybe a $6,500 gold. Oh, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to completely blast through this range, and it's going to leave us towards an all-time high of 6,500. But it doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. Look, gold is up 1% on US data, okay? But more importantly, this story here with the Supreme Court ruling that the Fed's rate path right now is going to be a little bit compromised because of the ruling, backing the story because of Trump increasing his tariffs again by 15%. And then Where is it? Where did they put it out into it? It said earlier on this morning, I had it. I haven't got it anymore, but never mind. The story is that with these tariffs, it's now sell America. And this is very important. Let me explain. If you're going to sell America, that means what? You're not going to be involved in the dollar. Okay? You're going to be shorting the dollar. That equally means that the euro has the trajectory to keep moving up. Okay? But the euro has got instability. Why? Because of this Lagarde story that she might not be serving her full term, if she is or she isn't. There's going to be a leadership compromise right now. And we don't know who's going to step in her place, because if we get someone that is a little bit hawkish or dovish, it's going to then determine the path for euro. My expectation is euro's still got a little bit more room to come back down, because the inflation on the eurozone is still really low, and that is a cause for concern for them. You can't have inflation so low, so what do? You increase the rates, given that they're currently at now 2.15%, if I'm correct. Here we go. Yeah, so the euro is currently in at 2.15%. That is really low. So why would I even be entertaining the euro? I may as well go over to the dollar, because the dollar itself yield is at 3.75%. Now, with that being said, the yields. Listen, if you're going to do anything with trading related, with crypto, with anything, if you're not paying attention to the yields, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not. Okay? Whether it's manipulated or not, they are the truest form of representing investors' idea of perceived value in the future. Let me explain. In front of you, you've got the 2-year yield right here, okay? 2-year yield has been trading at just in this sideways price action region at 3.4%. The 5-year has been quite volatile with a move down, but it's staying within this range, okay? You got the 10-year, which is the main read, okay, which is currently at 4.06%, and the 30-year currently at 4.7%. If the idea of selling America means that you're getting rid of dollar assets, that means you're going short on the NASDAQ, that means the yields are going to start moving themselves back up again. If the yields go up on the back of the idea of sell America, how do you expect Bitcoin to move back up? Doesn't make sense, does it? Why? Well, the NASDAQ is very correlated to Bitcoin. When NASDAQ goes down, Bitcoin goes down. That is clear as day. I mean, if we just go and have a look at Bitcoin's price action, you can see that it's starting to work this lovely vector candle region, and it has taken a bit of a turn to the downside going in the Asian session last night. If we saw that Bitcoin took a dump to the downside last night, and then, of course, you go over to the NASDAQ, and you can see NASDAQ followed suit with a little bit of a recovery down, or drop down, and it's now made a little bit of a recovery back up. But to say that Bitcoin is not tied to the stock market is a bit of a false claim, because, look, NASDAQ drops, Bitcoin drops, which means that the influence of the Wall Street is massive in cryptocurrency. Not to forget the fact that BlackRock has been offloading a little bit of Bitcoin in the last 2 hours or so. We've seen about 3, 6, 9, 12, and then we've got nearly 7,500 Ethereum being offloaded. So they're releasing a little bit of Bitcoin right now, which would make sense as to why Bitcoin's price is starting to pull back ever so slightly, because they're not going to sell it when it's dropping. They're going to sell it when it's rising. So just take that into consideration. But with the marketplace itself leaning to the idea of geopolitical tensions, and of course the story that Trump and the tariffs it's gonna start making the Fed feel a little bit cautious about cutting the rates. Where are we? What does it mean? It just means that dollar strength fundamentally is still going to be sought after, even though the yields may spike. And that represents investors' view that interest rates in the future are going to be higher for longer. That means that it's going to cost all these tech companies a lot of money when finance gets refinanced at these new levels. And this is the problem that we've got, where everyone's asking, is now the time for Bitcoin to start moving up? I mean, just look at it. It's down on the daily time frame, you are in a negative drawdown in terms of order flow. When we go into the weekly chart itself on Bitcoin, you can see it's still got more room to start attacking the one remaining zone, the ultimate support for Bitcoin, which would be inside of this range down here at the 68 and then going into the 70 region. This area here is support for Bitcoin. If it loses it, well, it's going down. And that's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. But if there is no change in the way geopolitical events are being maneuvered, okay, if Iran and US do not come to an agreement with each other, Gold's price is going to continue higher. Bitcoin will be deemed as a risk-on asset in the sense where when things are good, we buy it. When things are bad, we don't. Okay. And it will just continue to go down. There will be a flush out. And in my opinion, when we look at the stock market overall, we have to take things into consideration over here. In front of you is, of course, Nvidia. Okay. What's this? Here we are. They are lying. Here we go. They are lying about the negotiations. An attack is planned for tonight. The date is deliberate, echoing February 24, 2022, when Putin announced the operation. Trump is known to favor symbolic timing. If there is going to be an attack later on this evening, okay, let's just assume it, okay, that there is going to be an attack later, all right? The only thing that you need to be mindful of is as follows. First things first, tonight, the futures markets will not open until 11 p.m. UK time, which is 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. There will be a window when the market is closed, okay? Your job is to effectively keep an eye out on the news. That's all you need to do, all right? Keep an eye out on that, but be ready with gold because gold is going to pull a disgusting number if there is geopolitical events that start to get a bit chaotic, all right? You've got to be very, very careful with it. And I saw something. I just want to share it with you all. I think this is actually really good, but I need to try and find it. Here we go. I think this is it. Here we are. Have you heard about this? This is unbelievable. This is what you call the world monitor. Someone has put this up, all right? And it effectively just shows you what's going on everywhere in the world. All right, so you can just AI data centers. This is going to be good. Ship traffic, strategic waterways, fires, critical minerals, and what have you. And you can see what's going on everywhere. Okay, and all of the news that's coming out, all of whatever's going on, predictions. It's all here. Okay, someone made this. It's free of charge, man. It's unbelievable. But I'm going to get it all up and running and going all properly. And just to pay attention to how we can exploit it. This right here is great for prop firm traders who do like to exploit any news-based events, okay? So it is very interesting to see how this will all unfold and how it will be shown on here. It's absolutely wild, man. Look at it. It's when it's obviously running up better. Obviously, we've got Sky News, Euro News, you know, all of it is all there, ladies and gentlemen. So fair play to the person that created this. This is unbelievable what they've got on here. Mad. Here we go. Bitcoin ETF tracker. We have got some inflows at 239 million volume. I don't know if that is correct. It might need to be updated. But anyways, actually, let's just back that up. Is there inflows coming into Bitcoin right now? Let's look at the ETF 2 hours ago. It's just pure gas fees. All right. So nothing to be too concerned about. But yeah, the website it's called World Monitor App. That's all it is. World Monitor App. That's all you need to check out. But yeah, it's a very interesting platform, and you can just run certain things on there. It's brilliant when the things start to happen, conflict zones. So there's your conflict zone. We just need to pay attention to what's going on there. All right. And that's going to help us. High alert is in red. Elevated, you can see it's all up here. Orange is elevated, monitoring. All right, so it's quite a decent. The link, it's monitor app, worldmonitor.app. Okay, let me just bring it up here. Copy in the chat right now. World Monitor app, it's there. All right, check that out. So yeah, pretty interesting to say the least. Now, going into it, we got this story here. Fiscal stance points to Bank of Japan hike. There's a little bit of back and forth with the Bank of Japan. All right. And what you've got to understand with it is they do want to hike the rates, and they're talking about it in April, okay? It says here that it's Derek Halpenny, right, says that to catch his focus on defense, economic security, and investment-led growth alongside efforts to move away from supplementary budgets is supportive of a gradual Bank of Japan policy normalization. Policy normalization is to start making the cost of money expensive again because it's always been cheap. And it says here that they see a high probability of a Bank of Japan rate hike at the April 28th meeting. That is it's a bit of a contradiction because what's going on right now is, whoops. What's going on? My camera's off. You know what? This day is not looking so great right now. What's happened? Why is my camera off? I think it'll work. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Happy days. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a contradiction with regards to what's going on with Japan, because they are economically doing well. They are okay. But this article right here kind of puts things, what the hell? Puts things into perspective. Where is my camera? I don't understand that. Why is it doing this? Never mind. All right, and we'll just stick with the chart, with the white, this flipping thing here. Anyways. All right, then. So going into the market today, ladies and gentlemen, just keep an eye out on Bitcoin's price action. To say the least, we have got this sideways price action. And of course, more importantly, what we're going into this week is the earnings call for Nvidia. Be very careful with earnings call for Nvidia. All right. I think I've got hacked with this thing right now. I don't understand what's going on with it. It should be working, but it seems like it's not. But never mind. I can fix that later on. Anyways, so Nvidia, earnings call in 2 days' time. If Nvidia does not come through, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the stock market. And that is me being frank with you. Going over to the NASDAQ, you can see it's just trading sideways. You're going to get a lot of sideways price action. Mainly today, they probably are going to keep things pretty sidewind. But, of course, pay close attention to the yields on the dollar, the 2-year and the 5 and the 10-year. If they start to spike, you've got a problem. We've already got the tone right now about the actual futures performance right now. It's got silver, natural gas, heating oil, gold, lumber, palladium, sugar, and the volatility index are all trading positive for the day. That already tells you where we are with the sentiment across the board. Only good news is going to shift everything to the upside, which will equally lead to the yields market dropping. Now, the market is going to be opening in the next 10 minutes or so. So that's something that we got to take into consideration. My face is here, man. Don't worry about my face. It's just for some reason, it's just not working. I know what it is, but I haven't got the time to do it right now because it's going to be too long. All right. So yeah, it's the old school stream. Come on, man. It's got nothing to listen, bro. It's nothing to do with it's nothing to do with the money that I make on whether I have a good stream or not. All right. It's the fact that the camera's just not picked up on the computer. There is such a thing as human error, you know? Nothing to do with that, bro. I've got a very good setup. Very good setup. Anyways, is there a camera under your desk, bro? We can see your legs and you're wearing shorts. Yes, there is a camera under my legs. Anyways, with that being said, any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Because this is obviously a little bit of a wind up what's going on. Am I Mexican? No, I am Greek. Tino synthetic. Never mind. All right, then, look, let's just break it down like this, ladies and gentlemen. If there is a supposed attack later on, because it is a little bit quiet, all right? Trump hasn't said too much about this tariff story. He's increased it to 15%, fine. Iran's not said much, all right? But it is Monday. And they're not really going to do too much, given that Friday it was absolute chaos with news announcements that were being released. But the market's not fully open just yet. So usually we could see some activity. Let me give you a little tip. At the start of every new hour, pay attention to the news. Because news vendors usually like to drop things on the hour. Okay? Just watch out. Pay attention to gold's price and monitor the yields. If you're going to try and work out whether Bitcoin's going to go up or down based on technical analysis, you're going to be behind. Why? Because it's not about technical analysis anymore. I'm not saying anymore, but we're not in trend risk. We are in events-based risk. That means someone could say something, and then it invalidates any fib, any trend line, anything, okay? Now, naturally, if you do take advantage of the move and it works in your favor, then you play it technically, okay? But there is so many factors that are influencing the idea of technical analysis because investors are stepping in and out. They're trying to work out risk on or risk off, okay? There is so much emphasis behind hedging right now, and that's something you've got to be very, very careful with. Let me explain. Going into it, you can see that you have got on the volatility index, it's trading positive for the day so far. It's up nearly 1.04%. Equally, the NASDAQ is trying to make its claim back up again, but it's neither taken a high nor the low of the Asian session. And the Asian session is predominantly the main place for the NASDAQ to assume there is going to be a sweep to the upside and reverse in the opposite direction, or sweep to the downside, reverse in the opposite direction, okay? Right now, I'm not in any risk with Bitcoin, okay? I usually would be around this time, but I'm not in any risk on Bitcoin. But if I'm going to take any risk on Bitcoin, it's going to have to be once the market does actually open up, okay? Equally, what I like to do when I trade with BTCC, and if you don't, check this out, You get a 15% deposit bonus. KYC is not needed, or VPN, but you get to trade tokenized stocks. This is what I like to do with it. I will open positions with Bitcoin, okay? Then I will go over and have a look at the stock market. If Bitcoin doesn't move the speed that I want it to move, I'm going straight over to NASDAQ, and then I'll start trading NASDAQ and exploiting behavior over there. Now, given that the market is in humming and ahhing about what's going on, and we've had the comments from Waller today that has pretty much said that we may not get a change in interest rates, what I look for is, where can I hedge? Okay. So if I go over and say to myself, right, I'll open 3 positions, for example, I'm going to go over to gold. Whoops. I'm going to go over to gold, and then I'm going to place myself. I need to get this computer in the bin. Yeah. I'm going to take some positions on gold. This is a hedge. Trading gold. Okay. You short NASDAQ and you short Bitcoin, because macroeconomically speaking, that is where we are right now with the marketplace. And if you understand that logic, that gold goes up because of fear, investors sell America, getting rid of stock is naturally going to lead the NASDAQ to go lower. Equally, monitor the yields. Please pay attention to the yields, because I've said this before. Gold goes up on the back of the idea that interest rates are going to get cut, but you've got geopolitical events which are fueling investor sentiment to fear. All right. So they're going to be more concerned about that, because interest rates is a longer period of time. But geopolitical events are happening as we speak. So investors will price that logic in, which is why you've got the problem of the volatility index still trading positive. So let me bring this up for you. Volatility index is positive. And then, of course, you've got commodities trading positive. They're giving you the idea that this is where sentiment is right now. So when you go over to Bitcoin's price and say, yeah, but Tino, Bitcoin to the moon, and Michael Saylor's brought lots of Bitcoin, then you've got that massive whale who's gone short on Bitcoin. Does he know something? Well, whatever he knows, ladies and gentlemen, if you just simply look at the news and understand what's going on with everything, you can then make the assumption and say to yourself, okay, where are we at with it all? What's the story? Here's your hedgers position index, your swap dealers and your managed money and what have you. And someone said to me, Tina, yeah, but aren't commercial traders always short on gold? Yes, they are always short on gold, all right, because it's a hedging play. But what they did last time, when I shared this last time and gave everybody the heads up about it, gold had already made the move, okay? But when we see now that swap dealers are still net short, it means that they are effectively getting ready to run with the idea that they're going to send gold's price higher. Gold is going to explode. And as it goes higher, everyone steps back in again, gets bloody excited about it. And then you see this nice rally to the upside. And then you get this BS right here. That story right there. You get another one of those. Okay. What the hell is going on? This. You get another one of these. All right. That's what we're waiting for. If you go back in gold's chart, just look. Every single time they hit the vector, they load up and then they reverse it back up again. This one is going to be a bigger one, which then leads towards the idea of gold hitting potentially $6,500 in line with Goldman Sachs story. Okay. Hey, Tino, can you tackle at SMH? Feel like semis need to fall for NASDAQ to fall. SMH as in a stock. Is it a stock? Is that what you're making reference to? What is it? Like semi. What do you mean SMH? I'm not sure if I've got the right thing. I need to understand what you're talking about there, my friend, so I can get that for you. No, worst case for gold right now, just up then up, more than likely. Listen, you can't listen. You can't make projections wise for gold technically. Okay, it's not there. Don't project gold technically. Project it on the idea of sentiment. There's a reason why gold is outperforming Bitcoin right now. There's a reason why it's up and Bitcoin is that. I mean, do you need any more? And you know what? I know it pisses people off when I talk like this. I know it pisses people off. Oh, he's so negative about Bitcoin. Well, you know what? Welcome to the game of trading, ladies and gentlemen. There is risk off, okay? There is your story. And when you come to accept that story, then you're going to be much easier. You're going to be able to trade Bitcoin and manage your expectations with it, all right? It doesn't, some people just don't like it. They just want hopium. But look at in front of you. Where's the money going? It's not going into Bitcoin. That's clear as day. Now, when we start looking at things in a different perspective and start saying, okay, are they buying it? Yes, they are. They're bidding for it. Look, they are coming in with bids. These are the bids on Bitcoin. Okay. So they buy it as it drops. But Bitcoin will, listen, I'll give you this. Bitcoin will have its day again, ladies and gentlemen. It will move back up. But you're in a macro-driven environment, and this is your problem. There's too many people concerned about things. So that's why gold's price goes up. That's why you see the volatility of the VIX. That's why you see it spiking up and trending upwards. I'm going to give you a little bit of flavor here. Those of you that do look at the volatility index, just be very focused on this story here. The only time I will ever draw a trend line, okay, is when I see the VIX trending around it, okay? This is so important. Can you see that? You've got a trend, all right? Forget channels and what have you, but just look. This is a trend, all right? Look at this. This is a trend. It's going down, all right? This is important. Focus on the news around these times, all right? When you see these sideways channels, all right? Because what the VIX usually does is it goes sideways, it spikes, it comes back down again. But what we're seeing now is sentiment. Just listen to this and then I'll let you go, all right? Sentiment is progressively down. So they're spending more time taking on stock. Sentiment is progressively up. So we're spending more time getting rid of stock. This is important. When you understand that when the VIX trends, it means that there is an overall collective of investors in agreement that they need to protect themselves. The more we have investors agreeing that they want to protect themselves, the higher the VIX will trend. The volatility index is not really a gauge or an asset class. It's not an asset, but it's not really something that should be trending. We don't want investors to be prolonged with their hedge. We want them to do the opposite. And whenever there is a spike in the VIX, that's when we step in and be like, what's the VIX like today? It shot up to 35. Oh my God. Start buying your stocks. When the VIX is high, you buy. When the VIX is low, you hold or you go short. Okay? Because off the back of that, you've got to understand that when VIX's price goes up, Nasdaq's price goes down. Okay? Go and have a look at the last time we had those spikes. Look at this. What was that? That was your April tariff story. Started one of the biggest rallies in the marketplace. And then they just went sideways. They dropped. They trended lower, lower, lower. We want this trend, the downward spiral, not the upward spiral. Okay? Because they are trending upwards here. That's no good. We don't want that. We want this. Negative. We want the VIX to be trending negative, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? And it's true that people don't want to accept that Bitcoin has changed. And if you can't accept that, then you're just going to be the exit liquidity. You're going to be the person that is buying when Bitcoin's at all-time high. That's why everyone is so fixated on finding hopium, because it tells you where people have been buying the Bitcoin. They were buying it at 120K. They were buying it at 125K. And that's a sad story. All right? When you align yourself with the macros and understand what's going on geopolitically, you're going to be in a much better position, because when you think about it, you're not missing out on anything on Bitcoin. When you think about it, what's the difference between Bitcoin going up from now at, here we go, all right? What's the difference between Bitcoin going up from 66,000, okay, to 88,000, right? That's a 20K move. Okay, cool. And what about 80,000 to 100,000? It's a 20K move, all right? But because people are so fixated on percentage gains, or should I say, they want to be able to say that they caught Bitcoin at a significant price point, right? Well, they're just going to get smacked. They are. Because the last time Bitcoin made its rally to the upside at 68,000, it tanked to 16,000. And people got capitulated. It was at that time Bitcoin changed. It was from that point. Now, Bitcoin's made the move up. If you can capture a $10, $20, $30,000 move in Bitcoin, congratulations, man. But the culture of crypto is being engineered to make you believe you need to hold on for as long as you physically can. Then you take the loss and then you step back in again and you're like, shit, I've lost a lot of money. And then when Bitcoin makes a 10% move up, you're making $100. That's dead. The whole point is to engage in actively buying and selling the Bitcoin. And as you do that and you earn on that, it means that whatever price Bitcoin ends up becoming, it doesn't matter how much it moves. You don't need it to move too much because you're putting down significant capital that you expose for short periods of time and you make a lot of money on the price movements. That's the key to it. That's why we see on the CoinAnk when I'm looking at it, I'll show you now what I'm talking about. When we go to the pro charts right here, okay? When you dive into this and understand exactly how it's operating, you can then say to yourself, all right, then what's the story? So look at this. All these guys, look, 6.6 million, and they came and someone bidded aggressively down here for 13 million. Then we look at the opposite side. 3.65 million sold there. You've got 4.23 sold there. You've got another 3.14 there. Okay, so any of the participants that were buying on the way down have now sold that rally up. Okay, now we do have a little bit more flavor up here. We got 1.2, 4 million, and then 3 million. So I don't really have any big players. Here we go. Look at that. $43 million worth of Bitcoin to be sold at 66,900. So at most, if we do see Bitcoin make a bit of a pump to the upside, okay, and we go over to Bitcoin's price right now, 66,900 would effectively put us on a positive day for Bitcoin, and it will then end up trading up here, okay? But if geopolitical events are going to be a bit of a problem, then it's going to be coming down, and it's going to stay down, all right? That's 66,000 right there. That order, okay, at 43 million, right there at 66,900. The only logic is that if they do leave it in the order book, I mean, selling $43 million, you ain't got really a problem of drawdown. If anything, you could be getting ready to buy more Bitcoin down here, 65,200. There's a $50 million order at 65,200. And what does Bitcoin need to do? It needs to come down to pick that order up. 9 million at 65,655. Okay? So the order book already is telling you that it's leaning towards the idea that there's a big fat cat down here wanting to buy a stack of Bitcoin for 50 million. Madness, isn't it? They buy it when it drops, ladies and gentlemen. And that's where we are with it all. With that being said, guys, mad love and respect. Sorry about the camera and all of that madness, but I will be tuning into you all later on. Peace.